one of the key things related to education reform and the Education Reform Act of 1993 is a provision that calls for school site councils. In some places they're called school improvement councils and things like that. But they are basically structured to allow parents and other community members with a serious interest in education to come together and work with the leadership of schools to make sure that what is going on in the school is meeting the needs of the children. And so the site council have broad authority, which in many ways and in many cases is grossly underutilized here in our city and actually statewide. So we thought it would be useful to have someone come and talk to us about site councils and the way they can be used. One of the reasons we did that is we want to make sure, as I said, that we have parent leaders and community leaders who are advocating for our children. I mentioned that this is part of a family academy for people who are interested in a certificate. Attending this and 2 other sessions will make you eligible for a certificate which we'll be offering in the fall. And there'll be more information about that. So please make sure you've signed the sheet to come in. So let me introduce Glenn Kuchar from the Mass Association of School Committees.
And my organization has specific authority to put certain words on probation. One of those words is dysfunctional. I used to be a children's mental health center director. I know what dysfunction means. Just because we disagree with each other doesn't mean you're dysfunctional. Just because I don't like somebody doesn't mean that person's dysfunctional. And sometimes dysfunctional can be a bullying word that people use. You're a dysfunctional group. What am I supposed to do? So we don't use the word dysfunctional. The other word we don't use is robust. Have any of you been hearing the word robust lately? When you hear the word robust, you know a BS storm is going to be coming at you. So it's one of the new buzzwords that they use in educational functions. The third term we try not to use is micromanage. Micromanagement is an economic term. Ben Bernanke would micromanage the economy, you would hope. The president is authorized to have a staff that would micromanage the economy. Educators, parent advocates do not micromanage. They are concerned with what's happening in the building, and sometimes they like to get down into the weeds and see what's happening. Micromanaging is sort of what administrators will throw at you in the same way that the unions might accuse you of not bargaining in good faith. Sometimes the administrators will say you're micromanaging and they'll try to get you to back off. And we don't like the term, so we try to get people not to use it. So let's talk a little bit about school councils and site councils, and for that matter, the role of anybody who wants to advocate for schools. Let's talk about how you can use your position to improve student achievement, which is what site councils were designed to do. What are some of the most important issues that you'll confront, and what some of those new developments will be. There are some new challenges that we're dealing with site councils because the focus has become heavily on student achievement, making students successful. Now, some of us are a bit distressed that a lot of people talk about student achievement, but they don't talk about students. Sort of an abstract issue is that the kids will learn automatically, and if you just focus on achievement by osmosis, everybody will learn. And there's a big push to recognize the social and emotional well-being of students and the well-being of families as we do this. So that's pretty much new. Other important issues that we'll talk a little bit about, we said the social and emotional well-being of kids, the new educator evaluation provisions that the state is going to want all school committees and unions to agree to, and within the next 2 years, parents are going to be solicited for their input into educator evaluation. Imagine being asked about your views about the effectiveness of the educators that actually teach your kids. or the effectiveness of the principals and administrators, weighing in on the superintendent's evaluation, for example. These are coming, and the school council will play a very important role in looking at those issues. And those are developments that will confront you, and we'll talk about those tonight. This is new for 2002, and can I do this without messing up your site? Can you all hear me? Okay. We are now dealing with some very new elements about educator evaluation and student achievement. And we're talking about using data. And we have all kinds of data to help us understand how well kids are doing. But kids' success is more than just the numbers. So we're looking at MCAS tests, we're looking at district tests, we're looking at classroom tests and measures, we're looking at portfolios, we're looking at all kinds of different data that will be used to measure student effectiveness. And as teachers and principals work to identify the way to measure success, we are seeing the beginning of these individuals asking school councils to get involved in the discussion. Because starting this year, educators are going to be evaluated on the basis of how their students are doing as part of their evaluation. So the key questions for us: how do we tell how effectively students are learning? What measures or artifacts of student achievement do we use? So it's tests and more. Do we look at homework? Do we look at portfolios? Do we look at student satisfaction? Do we look at parent input? Do we look at the kinds of extracurricular activities that kids produce? Do we try to measure their creativity and see how well kids are doing? Well, we don't know. This is all new. So who better to advise the principals and teachers, or who better to have a forum at the school to engage the community than the school council? You know, the school council can be thought of as the place with the table that you can be at. Because you not only want to be at the table, it's your table, that's even a better place to be. And you want to be at the table because if parents aren't at the table, they sometimes end up on the menu. and you don't want that to happen. So there'll be new rules about how school councils will be dealing with school administrators and the evaluative criteria. There's stuff from Race to the Top. It's a federal program that it's a federal program that gives a lot of money to certain school districts. Worcester, I know, is getting a good chunk of that money. And in exchange for Race to the Top money, the school districts will be looking at educator evaluation and the new Common Core curriculum, which is a whole other major issue that's being implemented, and the school council is going to want to know about the Common Core curriculum. We have a waiver for No Child Left Behind, which means that the measures of adequate yearly progress to assess student achievement, the way we look at how well kids are doing, will be different. We'll be looking more at closing the achievement gap than we will at measuring specifically whether kids improve at a very specific pace. And there's some stuff going on in the legislature, of course. There's always issues about money. Massachusetts probably has the most heavily over-regulated system of public education. So there are always rules coming down, and some of you may have been following the cupcake wars that we had last week when some sort of over-enthusiastic regulation writers at the Department of Public Health decided to overextend what the legislature had authorized them to do and ban certain products from schools at certain times. Parents have had some real concerns about that. They all want their kids to be healthy, and healthy kids is an appropriate topic for a school council. But yet, so is discipline. And some of our school councils have actually had discussions where parents talk about the importance of discipline being reasonable and relevant. So if you prohibit something from a school that a child can legally buy at the Honey Farm downstairs and bring into school, but you prohibit it from being sold at an after-school bake sale, what does that tell the kids about discipline? It might tell the kids that it's more about rules than it is about being healthy. Or it might tell the kids it's more about being healthy and you shouldn't be buying that stuff at the store. Whatever it is, school councils can talk about it. Let me explain what a school council is as compared with a school committee. Now, you wouldn't know this, but this door keeps opening up. There we go. So that you get a sense of the difference between the school committee and the school council. The school and the reason that we're particularly happy to be training school councils, and we do this all over the state, is that many of our school committee members are actually coming from the school councils. So we view the school council as not only an important grassroots and community organizing and parent empowerment group, but we also see it as a place from which we will be able to recruit next generation of school committee members, whoever they may be. Now, the school committee is the municipal legislature for schools. In Worcester, you have the city council and the school committee, two legislative bodies. One handles schools, one handles municipal affairs, and the city council has a little oversight on the school committee's budget side. You also have the executive branch, so the chief executive of your city is the city manager, or in some cities, the mayor. And in your case, you have checks and balances all over the place, because you have a mayor who chairs the city council and the school committee, and has some authority as mayor, and then you have the city manager, and everybody has a little bit to say about what happens to everybody else. And that's a good check and balance, but the school committee is the legislature for schools. They have certain authority. They hire the superintendent, principal hire. They make a few other hires, but it's mostly the superintendent. The school committee makes the law, like any legislature would do. But in a school, the law is the policy of the school district. So the school committee sets school policy. One of the policies they made is how the school council, the site council, is elected. And by the way, the law allows the school committee to designate certain authority to the school council. So some school councils have more responsibility than others. The school committee sets the budget, and budgets come to the school committee from the superintendent, who gets the budget input from the principals and department heads. And at the school, the principal should be working out the budget with the faculty and the school council. The school committee conducts union negotiations, collective bargaining. The school council doesn't get involved in union negotiations. And as I said, they set the policy for electing the school council. Now, here's the important thing about the school council. In 1993, when the governance of schools was redrawn by the legislature, and the school committee was given its discrete authority, and the superintendent was given discrete authority. So now we have the superintendent's leadership, the school committee representing the community, how to empower parents. Well, the parents were to be empowered by the creation of the school council. The school council was advisory to the principal, but with very discrete authority to meet and to discuss issues. The involvement of parents in an official way was something relatively new. Parent participation, citizens' participation was unheard of before the 1970s, and it grew in the 70s and 80s. So now the theory was, let's empower parents by creating school councils. And that was a fine theory, brutalized by a vicious game of facts. And that was that not a lot of people were enthusiastic about getting parents involved. But I will tell you, as a former school committee member, one of the reasons that I was on the school committee in Cambridge, which, like Worcester, is a planned city, and the city manager and the mayor sits on the school committee. So I'm familiar with your former governor. One of the reasons that we loved parent involvement was because when parents get on the inside, when community members get on the inside, they not only like it, they refuse to leave. So it's insurance. It's insurance against the politics, insurance against people making decisions in a vacuum. And we believe in the Sunshine Law, we believe in the open meeting law. It's what gives us all the right to be here, and we all want to be active participants in what we do. So the site council or the school council was set up to advise the principal and to be a working group to inform the principal, the superintendents, and the school committee. And there are school committees that entertain school councils to come before them. In fact, one of the characteristics of high-performing school committees is that they have academic presentations at their meeting. And every month in some communities, there's a different academic presentation, or they invite the school council to come and speak to them. So it's a great opportunity. Site councils were designed to empower parents and students. And as I said, the school committee can delegate authority to them. Some are very effective, and some are not effective at all. And think about this. There are a lot of community leaders in your community, and in this country for that matter, who've never been elected to anything, but they're very influential. How did they get to be influential? Because they knew the issues, they had integrity, they would speak truth to power, they were responsible, and they had the energy to get out and do what they wanted to do. So school councils can be extremely effective and politically powerful if people use their position in an effective way. Well, what? Yes, please.
Excuse me, when
Now,
you're saying,
nice and loud. So
okay, when you're saying school committee, you're also mean site council?
no, the school committee is different. The school
I'm sorry, I
committee.
meant the council,
When I say site council, I mean school council.
school council, that's right.
Yeah, those terms are, the legal term is school council, but they've come to be known as site councils in the community. It's the same principle. It's a mix of parents, sometimes students and faculty who meet on a regular basis to work with the principal. School councils are there to empower parents, to help hold principals accountable, to draw upon people in the community who have something to offer. Many school councils have parents who are not only parents, but they have areas of expertise. And sometimes there are non-parents who have areas of expertise. So we might find healthcare professionals, lawyers, accountants, people who can count money, are there any superintendents here? Because, superintendents aren't always the best people at counting money, they're educators. Superintendents are really good at knowing curriculum, but when it comes to the finance of where all the 50 different sources of revenue come, sometimes you need a really good financial manager to help you. It's why most school districts have a really good school business officer to help you with that. And sometimes you have fiscal experts who are very good at helping look at different ways to spend money. Sometimes, as I said, we have healthcare professionals. We have one school council's got a demographer who studies populations and looks at different things. So those are terrific people to have with you. You can draw on the collective wisdom of the stakeholders in the community. Builds community partnerships. Because if you have representatives of the business community, representatives of some of the colleges and universities in your area or other schools, you can just get the best that your community has to offer. You can also build on collective judgment. I used to work for a professor of history who was always quoting Edmund Burke, the great British parliamentarian, who said many profound things. But one of the profound things that he said was, the individual may be foolish, but the species is wise. And the species, meaning the body as a group, people collectively, will have better judgment than a single individual. And by the way, more important today than ever before is the ability to mobilize parents to stand up to the cubicle sitters in state and federal government who love the notion of substituting their judgment for yours, because they think that sitting in their cubicle they know more than you do about what's best for your kids. Sometimes they know a lot and have a lot to offer, but my organization does a lot about regulatory abuse, and I joke about this, not half in jest, but coming from Cambridge, Massachusetts, there's no shortage of people eager to substitute their superior judgment for their perceived inferiors. But those of us who are on the receiving end of that superior judgment, we've got good judgment of our own, and we like to use it. So parents have been great at standing up. We wouldn't have the legislature banning the cupcake ban if it weren't for parents standing up and saying, cupcakes, not a great thing to eat all the time, but banning cupcakes is a real overreach. It sort of started with parents. But school councils have talked about the need for improved curriculum, the need to involve parents in the selection of teachers, advising the principal in which foreign language we should be instituting at the elementary schools, talking about what the new buildings might include when you do construction projects. All of those things are very common things that we see. So what is a school council? And I hate to default to rules and regulations, but there's a little bit of law in here that we can't escape. Well, the law says that the school council is a body that includes the principal as the co-chair and an equal number of educators and non-educators. So you have teachers at the table, but the school council is designed so that the parents or the community won't be outnumbered by the faculty, just so that it will be balanced. And you can have whoever you want in the school council, and if you're at the high school, you have to have a student. We have some middle school councils, or site councils, that have students. I haven't seen an elementary school one yet, but we have that. The role of the school council is to advocate for kids. Now, this is very important because we hear a lot, as I said, about student achievement and community development and curriculum development and enhancement and good evaluations. We don't always hear a lot about what's good at the classroom level for children and who's going to advocate for children. When we talk about rigor, the word, the robust curriculum so that we can have rigor. When my student friends tell me, who do you think gets the rigor? It's the kids. So let's think about the kids. And school councils are the people that do that. A school council is also supposed to be looking at the individual school and the specific needs of the school. So some schools will have environmental concerns. Some will have different student populations that will be unique. Linguistic concerns, concerns related to race, concerns related to economic status of families, health concerns, whatever the priorities may be of individual schools. Some schools may have school climate and morale concerns. Some may be concerned about restructuring. Whatever the concerns of the school may be, as they relate to the student, they're appropriate for the school council. The school council also is supposed to review the budget proposal that the principal passes along to the superintendent for consideration by the school committee. And the school improvement plan, which the site council presents to the superintendent on an annual basis, should be presented after it's been reviewed by the school council or the site council. Yes?
Glenn, when you say review the school budget, so it's the school budget in the context of the district budget.
That's correct.
So each site council should
Review
the
its
budget
school
for
budget.
that school.
Correct. Correct. But if you wanted to take, if the school council wanted to take a larger